There's just something about a pirate story, isn't there?
Oh, definitely.
You know, the crinkled maps, the X marking the spot, these secret islands. It's a formula that it never seems to get old.
It really doesn't. It taps into something primal, that desire to just jump on a ship and go hunt for gold. But when we talk about a story like Treasure Island, we're usually just looking at the literature.
Right. The themes, the history, Stevenson's writing.
Exactly. But today, we're doing something a little different.
We are. We're looking at a source that's kind of pulling a 2-for-1 special. It's a YouTube video called Learn English with Stories from the English Unleashed channel.
Which is such a fascinating angle.
It is. So on one hand, you get this great classic retelling of Treasure Island, but the source's real mission isn't just to entertain you. It's to use that story to teach English fluency.
And they have a really clever structure for it. You have Tom, who's the host, and he sets up the vocabulary and the concepts, and then his colleague Richard comes in and narrates a simplified version of the story.
So they're using the adventure, the threat of pirates, to basically trick your brain into learning.
They are. You're learning things like shadowing and phrasal verbs while you're on the edge of your seat.
It's clever. So that's the plan for this deep dive. We are going to unpack the story of Jim Hawkins and Long John Silver, but we'll do it through the lens of this source, stopping to see how they use these moments to teach the language.
I like it. It's like we're decoding the story and the language lesson at the same time.
Exactly. So let's set the scene. The story doesn't start on the high seas. It starts in a quiet village by the sea, and right away the source pauses to make a specific point about the setting, the Admiral Benbow Inn.
And this is actually our first vocabulary lesson. The instructor, Tom, makes a point to distinguish between a hotel and an inn.
Okay.
He defines an inn as a small, quiet, cozy hotel. Seems like a simple thing, but for a learner, that nuance is everything. Inn just feels safer, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sets a mood of peace, which of course makes the violence that shows up later so much more shocking.
And speaking of shocking, that peace gets shattered pretty much immediately. Enter Billy Bones.
Not your average guest.
Definitely not. The narrator describes him as tall, strong, and rough. And rough is the second key vocabulary word they really focus on.
How do you define it?
As looking tough or wild, not neat. Which is great because it captures his appearance, but also his personality, It's shorthand for this guy is trouble.
And he's got the deep scar on his face to prove it.
Which the source defines as a mark left on skin after an injury heals. But what's really interesting is how they tie all this to his psychology. He's not just sitting there drinking, he's nervous.
Constantly watching the door.
Right. A total state of paranoia. He scares the other guests with his pirate songs, but he's the one who's actually terrified.
And he ropes our hero, young Jim Hawkins, into that fear. He pays Jim a silver coin every month.
To keep an eye out.
I can only imagine how confusing a phrase like that is for an English learner.
Oh, absolutely. If you translate it literally, it sounds like some kind of horrible medical procedure. Right. But the story gives it perfect context. Billy pays Jim to watch carefully or be alert for a very specific threat, a sailor with one leg.
It just builds this incredible sense of impending doom. And that doom finally walks through the door. But it's not the one-legged man. Not yet.
No, it's Pew, the blind man.
Who is somehow even scarier.
Way scarier. And he delivers the famous black spot.
The ultimate pirate warning.
It is. The source calls it a pirate sign of danger and death. And look at the physical reaction they focus on to teach the next bit of vocabulary. When Billy Bones gets the spot, he turns pale.
Which they define as your skin looking white from fear or sickness.
Right. And then his heart simply gave out.
That's such a gentle way to say he dropped dead from pure terror.
It is, but for a language lesson, it's perfect. Gave out is a phrasal verb. It implies a kind of mechanical failure, like an engine just stopping. He collapsed.
And his collapse is the catalyst for everything. Jim and his mother open Billy's sea chest to get the money he owes them.
And inside, they find coins from all over the world. But more importantly,
the map. Captain Flint's treasure map.
And this is where the story just explodes in scale. We go from this cozy little inn to a massive global adventure. The source even shifts to introduce the concept of a voyage.
They define that specifically, don't
they? They do. A long trip by ship. They want the learner to feel the weight of this undertaking. It's not just a day trip. They get a ship, the Hispaniola.
And for a voyage, you need a captain. So we meet Captain Smollett, and they describe him as strict.
Which is a really interesting word choice. Strict can sound negative, like a mean teacher.
Sure.
But the source defines it as Following rules exactly. So in this context, Smollett isn't a villain. He's a professional. He's the only one who seems to get how dangerous this whole thing is.
Which is such a brilliant contrast to the guy who's charming everyone else.
Long John Silver.
Our main antagonist. He's the cook. He's got one leg, a crutch. You'd think Jim would be immediately suspicious, right? After Billy's warning.
You would think. But Silver is a master manipulator. The source points out how he appears at first. Smart, friendly, telling funny stories. He's got the parrot on his shoulder screaming, "Pieces of 8." He just disarms everybody.
It's a great lesson for the language learner, too. Just because someone is described with positive words like friendly doesn't mean they're a good person.
That's a great point. You have to read between the lines. And Jim is the one who finally does. We get to that famous barrel scene.
He's hiding in an apple barrel on the deck.
And he overhears Silver's whole plan. He finds out most of the crew are pirates. The source uses the phrase, "take over the ship here."
Another phrasal verb.
Exactly. To seize control. And the plan is just brutal. Find the treasure, then mutiny, and kill all the honest men.
That must be absolutely bone-chilling for a kid to hear. You're in the middle of the ocean, and the cook is planning to murder you.
It's the ultimate nightmare. But the source points out that Jim, even though he's terrified, he stays quiet. He doesn't scream. He gathers the information.
It's the first sign of him really growing up.
It is. So the battle lines are drawn. The honest men know the truth, but they have to play along until they reach the island.
And when they finally get there, the description of Treasure Island is so vivid. Green, wild, and very quiet.
That quietness is so deceptive. And this is where the source introduces another key phrase. As they're exploring, Jim walks off.
Not just leaves, but walks off.
Right. It implies he just sort of drifts away quietly, maybe without permission. And in the forest, he meets the real wild card of the story.
Ben Gunn.
Ben Gunn. He's a former pirate who was marooned, just left behind by his friends 3 years earlier.
He's been surviving on berries and goats.
Which probably explains why he's a little strange. But he's friendly,
Yeah.
and he drops an absolute bombshell on Jim.
He's already found Captain Flint's treasure.
He found it. The whole reason for the voyage, the map, the danger, it's all based on a false premise because Ben Gunn already dug up the gold and moved it.
That changes everything.
But the pirates don't know that, so the conflict just erupts. The pirates take the ship, and the loyal men retreat to an old wooden house on the island.
A stockade. And we get actual battles now. Guns, swords, the works.
It gets very real. The pirates attack the house to get the map, but the source says the loyal men are strong, smart, and brave. They hold them off, but they're trapped. They have no ship.
And this is where Jim just goes into full hero mode. I love this part. He finds a tiny boat.
A small, round boat is how the source puts it, avoiding a complicated word like coracle for the learners.
Right. And he pulls off this solo mission. He sneaks back to the Hispaniola.
He actually fights a pirate on the ship one-on-one and wins. He takes control of this massive ship all by himself and moves it to a secret hiding place.
He steals their getaway car. It's a checkmate move.
It should be, but Silver still has the map, and in a really clever twist, the good guys just give it to him.
It looks like they're surrendering.
But it's a trap. They know the map is worthless, so they let the pirates, with Silver leading them, go off on their treasure hunt.
You can just imagine this scene. They're digging frantically, their eyes are just filled with greed, and they find
Nothing. The source says they find nothing. The treasure is gone.
that moment of realization must have just broken them.
It does. Total panic. Some run off into the forest, never to be seen again. The good guys who are waiting in ambush easily win.
And they reveal the treasure was in Ben Gunn's cave the whole time.
Right. And they load all this gold, silver, and jewels onto the ship.
But what about Long John Silver? In a normal story, he'd be the one going to jail.
See, that's what makes the story so mature. On the voyage home, the source explains that Silver manages to sneak away with a small bag of treasure. He just disappears forever.
He doesn't get the big prize, but he doesn't get punished either.
Yeah.
He just slips away.
It feels very realistic, doesn't it? And the source brings that theme of maturity back to Jim. He goes home rich, yes, but the text says he felt different. He had seen danger, greed, and death.
He's not the same kid from the Admiral Benbow Inn.
Not at all. He learned about bravery and friendship and trust. The voyage transformed him.
Okay, so we've walked through the story, and we've touched on the vocabulary they define. Words like in, rough, voyage. But I want to go back to the teaching method for a second.
Yeah.
We mentioned shadowing at the start. How does the source actually use that?
It's built right into the narration. After Tom introduces a word or a phrase, he encourages the listener to practice. And shadowing isn't just listening, it's active. You listen to a phrase, you pause the audio.
And you repeat it back, exactly.
Exactly. You mimic the pronunciation, the speed, the intonation. If the narrator sounds scared, you're supposed to sound scared.
So you're not just memorizing the definition of pale in a list somewhere, you're physically saying it with emotion in the context of Billy Bones dying of fear.
Precisely. By tying the vocabulary to these high-emotion moments, your brain holds on to it so much better. The story becomes like a memory palace. You remember the word strict because you have this clear mental image of Captain Smollett.
It just shows how versatile a great story is, doesn't it? Treasure Island is this incredible thriller, but this source proves it's also a fantastic textbook.
It's a really beautiful parallel. Jim is moving through the story, decoding his world. Who's good, who's bad? What does this map mean?
And the English learner is doing the exact same thing with the language, trying to find the meaning.
Both are navigating unknown territory, and both, you hope, walk away richer for the experience.
I love that. So before we sign off, I want to leave you with one last thought. Based on that ending from the source, Jim comes home with all the gold, but the story emphasizes how much he's changed inside. He's seen the worst of human nature.
The pure greed that drove those pirates mad. Which really raises the question, in a story that's literally called Treasure Island, was the gold really the most valuable thing Jim brought back?
Or was it the resilience, the wisdom he was forced to gain just to survive?
It's something to think about maybe the next time you're facing a rough situation or starting a new voyage of your own.
Whether that's learning a language or just navigating life.
Indeed. Always keep an eye out.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next adventure.